Thank you everybody for joining us. We have been really looking forward to this Zoom. We feel it's so important with all that's going on right now. And and Elizabeth Espinosa has been a great partner of ours. She's been amazing in the street. She's doing everything she could to really do her best to help people out during these tough times. And to tell y'all a bit about her, she has been an immigration organizer for the past 20 years. She helped bring families together who were torn apart at the border during President Trump's first term. Currently, she's leading Organized Solidarity Collective, which is a group of volunteers distributing red cards on the ground directly to folks, which you'll hear more about during the presentation. And I've really been so lucky to get to know her the last few months. And although it doesn't say it in her bio, she's truly a hero and is working tirelessly to preserve the rights of so many. So thank you for all you do. We will save questions for the end, and feel free to write them in the chat or write them to me, whatever is easiest, and we'll discuss that at the end. Or you could also write to Leslie Hansen. And Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. The stage is yours.
Okay, so let's get started. My name is Lisbeth. That's my contact. Please feel free to text me, email. I also have my right hand on board. Her name is Leslie. She's the one that put the fire in me and said, you have to come and talk to all of us. The workshop, the title is If Not Now, When? If Not Me, Who? And it's a collective, and we are on the ground teaching community, I'm teaching allies how to participate, how to get involved, how to be an agent in action versus walking away. At the same time, we have an amazing tool that is still in our hands, which is the red card. So there's 3 goals that I want to do. The first one is I want to prepare everybody that's joining me today. I want to prepare you to uphold the 4th Amendment. The second goal is I want everybody to save people's lives by distributing the red cards individually to vulnerable people. The third one, my third goal here is train allies on what to do if they witness an ICE raid. Okay, so all of this can be shared. It's all of this has been like legally approved attorneys. So everything that I'm saying, you can Google it. There's so much more data on it, but this is literally top and for your fingers. The goal is for you to go into action mode after this, because we need to save people's lives. Okay. So these are two strong things. So you see here, we're not Nazis, we're just following orders, ICE. And Tom, who's the head of ICE, the Department of Homeland Security, he was in Phoenix last week, and he's the ICE director. So he envisions Amazon-like mass deportation system, like Prime, but with human beings. So he wants to get this much more faster. He wants to be able to deport human beings faster than what's happening right now. And they're really, they've been getting ready for it. And today in the morning, I saw that $43 billion is going to get moved over to Department of Homeland Security. So Department of Homeland Security, Immigration Court, all of that is under the president. So that's his jurisdiction. So that's why you see a lot of stuff happening. But I'm going to break down key important things. The next one that affects all of us here is, as of Friday morning, the judge rules ICE can carry out raids in places of worship. That's why I want to go into the 4th Amendment. Anybody who's living in the United States of America, disregarding whatever legal status, you have the right to the Constitution. And what is the 4th Amendment? The 4th Amendment of the United States Constitution protects people from unreasonable searches and seizures by the government. So it protects private and public spaces, and I'll go into that. Property, a cell phone is property, a car property, a house is property. So that's your Fourth Amendment. So understanding how the Fourth Amendment applies in immigration will help tremendously, because that you need to use it. So everybody is now, if you're aware of the Fourth Amendment, we need to use it, especially if you're in places of worship, if you're in a school setting, a small, but we always have the right of the Fourth Amendment. And I want to go over that. Okay. So this is an administrative warrant. I am gonna, this PowerPoint, I'm gonna send it to Isaac, and Isaac's gonna be able to send it to everybody that's joining today. This is an administrative warrant. I know it's blurry on one side. There's no way of getting the actual warrant, but this is a copy of an administrative warrant. So in order for ICE to detain you, in order for ICE to go into a place of worship, in order for ICE to walk into a small business, in order for ICE to go into the school facility, all of this is under your Fourth Amendment, okay? This is an administrative warrant. This is not valid. If ICE or anybody in the Department of Homeland Security shows you or shows the person in charge or shows the assistant, shows a human being an administrative warrant, that is not valid. So this type of warrant does not require probable cause, and it only indicates that someone may be eligible for deportation. The reason why people think this is a judicial warrant is because in that moment, you're in a stage of shock. You really are, there's a lot happening. You might be at the door, at the door at the synagogue, like you really don't know where you're gonna be at when all of a sudden they give you a warrant, and you're like, oh my God, they had a warrant. This is not valid though. And I wanted to at least enhance to show it can look valid, but it's not. It doesn't allow for the Fourth Amendment. It's not valid. So this is issued by the Department of Homeland Security or another federal department. It's not issued by a court. The warrant does not authorize, this thing over here. The warrant does not authorize any law enforcement officer entrance, let me move this, into the property. So the administrative warrant is not valid. It does not allow them to go into a private space, okay? They need to have a judicial warrant, which is the difference is it's the United States District Court, and it's signed by a judge. So if they want to walk into a school, to a place of worship, to a small business, they need to show a judicial warrant. At the same time, if they knock on my house, if they want to talk, like if they think someone here is a person who's been looking at and undocumented, or a person, we'll go over the legal status of people who they're targeting right now. Judicial warrant. This is the warrant, okay? So major difference from an administrative, and the problem is, this is all, you can be in Arizona or in New York, it all is the same. The situation is, in that time, in that moment of chaos, they'll show you a warrant, and 99% of the times it is the wrong warrant. It is an administrative warrant. And the person lets them in, the person opens the door, the person says they had a warrant, but in reality, they had the wrong warrant. They need to show the judicial warrant, okay? So this warrant does authorize law enforcement limited and specific access into an identified private space and scope, specific private information. So the judicial warrant will say, was literally, they have to put the actual location, the administrative office of Phoenix Banning High School. They have to put the exact location. So that's the difference between the judicial warrant and the administrative warrant. And we'll go into a little bit over that, but you all can have this, okay? Okay. So here is the privacy. This is all under the Fourth Amendment. So a judicial warrant is required to go into a private area. It can let it be school, let it be my home. My home is a private area. It's not public space. The where someone worships, there's private areas and there's public space. A park is a public space. A school setting is public and private. A small business owner is private. However, if the small business owners has benches in the patio, that's public. All of that falls under the Fourth Amendment. ICE cannot go into your property without a judicial warrant. So I'm teaching you barriers, how you can be proactive and say, wait, you cannot walk in. That's not a judicial warrant. Go back. You have the power to say that. You're exercising your constitutional rights. So judicial warrants to enter non-public areas like a classroom, offices, or staff-only spaces, ICE must present a judicial warrant, a warrant signed by a federal judge. A warrant signed Department of Homeland Security or ICE officers called an administrative warrant is not enough to require access to private space. So just remember that, private space versus public space. Anybody in Department of Homeland Security wants to get into a private space, they need to show you a judicial warrant, period. That's major difference. Okay. So I am now, I'm very call to action, very direct, because we are now living in those times. It's happening in front of us. It's happening in our front yard, in our backyard, what's happening in the reality. And we'll go over numbers. So let's say they show up at a school facility, or let's say they show up at a place of worship, or let's say they show up at a small business, which is already good, which is already happening. The small business owners have been dealing with ICE. Schools, we've been hearing here and there. And now that they have the green light, they're going to start showing up in places of worship. So these are things that everybody can put into action. So every staff member is a first responder, or every volunteer at the church is a first responder, or every volunteer at the synagogue is a first responder. Every person who's at the small business is a first responder. So think about it like that. The first member or volunteer to notice law or immigration enforcement on site should promptly greet them. That's immediately. And you need to request a business because you're the first person to call it. So do not run away. Actually, on the contrary, go up to them and, hello, could I please get your business cards? By them giving you their business cards, you know who you're dealing with. And literally be like, you know, that even if they say they should give you their business cards, they might tell you, I'm so and so, and you can say, I need a business card. They are very harassing, so they might be like, well, are you legal? And that person who approaches them should say, I need a business card. Like, stick to, I need a business card. You know, you cannot come in, I need a business card. So they give you the business card, and that same person, and that's why you have here, like, we need to train our volunteers. Business owners train their workers. We need to train the people who might encounter ICE, who might be the first ones. And that person should say, I'm not authorized to allow you to enter, but I'll call someone who can come. So meaning somebody becomes the leadership team, the business owner, the property owner, like who is the person in charge overall. But that person, by them getting the business card already can let the people at the center, can let somebody else who has more in charge to come in and do the whole back and forth. You get me? This is the recommendation from many attorneys. This is a recommendation that we put out in the field. When it comes to business owners, it is public and private space intersect a lot, also in places of worship. And business owners, the people can be eating and ICE comes in and they start talking to the waitresses. Are you legal? And the waitresses are like, I don't have to speak. I don't have to speak to you. Can I have a business card? By getting the business cards, then they go and tell their manager. They go and so usually the small business owner, what we tell them, what a lot of us say is put a plan in action. The same way at a place of worship, put a plan in action. At the same way at the school setting, we're pushing a lot, put a plan in action. So people are not off guard as it is. It's very chaotic when it happens, but at least there's some type of a plan, something. Here on this part, let me see if I can move. I have my, there, better. So on that person who's the first responder, that volunteer, and there's two good examples. Oh, last week, LAUSD, two schools in South Central, elementary schools, and ICE looked normal. They were normally dressed and they had their firearms inside, so you couldn't tell. But the person at the door, it was in the morning, kids were getting dropped off. The person at the door was like, nope, you cannot come in. What's your business card? They gave her the business card and she immediately closed the gate. And she called it into the principal, like, and so that was amazing what that person did, because she stopped something from happening. And they were full of lies. They had supposedly they said that the parents told them that they can come and talk to the children. That's correct, not correct. That's BS. So that first responder can literally saved a lot of kids' lives. Right now, ICE is talking to children who are under political asylum, and they're doing it not in a very healthy way. They're trying to drag them out of school, and these are elementary school students. So that first responder can really diffuse a lot of the situation. So now we're talking about the first responder, say, give me your business card. And the first responder says, I don't have, you cannot come in. I need to call somebody in leadership. So literally that first responder starts halting the process, stopping the process, calls the person in leadership. Let it be the place of worship. Let it be a school. Let it be a small business owner. So you guys have to figure out who are the people to call. What's the plan, right? So here comes a person in charge of the place of worship, or here comes a person in charge of the school, X, Y, and Z. That person says, please give me a copy of the warrant so that I can call my legal team. So right there at that moment, many of these folks, they don't have a warrant on hand. And we'll go over collateral arrest. So a lot of this is happening without warrants. By that leadership person saying, give me a copy of the warrant so I can call our legal team, that's more diffusing. That operation now knows they're not going to get through. They're not going to get through. These people know your rights. These people are aware of the Constitution Amendment. They're aware. It's not going to be this easy. So at the same time, that operation is consulting among themselves, trying to figure out, should we proceed or not? Because these folks know they're right. We're not going to be able to get in. So it really has helped push these operations out as it is. They don't have a warrant. It's not proper, but we live under 47. The president, today's his 84th day. So he's allowed all of this to occur, you know? So by the leadership person saying, please give me a copy. And then that person who has that, and I advise for it to be multiple persons, just because if somebody is absent or somebody's out sick or somebody's not there that day, you have who would be the person in the leadership team, right? That person can now see if they were given a warrant, they can identify, is this administrative or is this judicial warrant? What is it? And if it's an administrative warrant, which is 99% of the time, the leadership person comes back and says, Our legal team has reviewed the warrant and we are not authorized to allow you access. And you smile and they can't get in. It's an administrative warrant. What's been happening is they either have an administrative warrant or they have no warrant. So they don't have access. And that person and that leadership team can say that. And they don't have access. And they go away because they don't have access to get into the building, to get into the private space. It has been very rare. It hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. And I'm in communication with many people in the immigration world. It hasn't happened. Like the Spanish news, I have all the TV stations on, all the different, they don't walk in with judicial warrants. They walk in with administrative warrants, or they don't walk in with no warrants, and there's just bullying. Usually small business owners have been dealing with more of this because unfortunately, when ICE eats lunch, eats breakfast, they go ahead and take the workers. So it's been happening without warrants, and every ICE office has a quota to meet. So it was 75 in January. My understanding, it's probably gone up to 175, but I need a newspaper to confirm that. See. So a judicial warrant. So let's say they do come up with a judicial warrant. Remember, all of this is under the Fourth Amendment, property. So let's say they show you, and it is a judicial warrant. You see the court, you see the judge, you see the specific detail of what location they need in that school or that space of worship, like what are they going after? Or if they're a certain person, it literally has to be detailed. So that person in leadership says, I will not interfere, but I will stay with you and take notes from my attorney. So that person in leadership needs to just be ready to stay there. And on people in leadership to be like, you have the right to, they are in your private property with a judicial warrant. You have the right to stay on them, to take pictures, to see what are they doing, what. And private property, meaning this does not give them the right for you to give them paperwork. No. So usually the judicial warrants is usually somebody's name, or it's we haven't seen if it hasn't happened that's a school office. What we have seen has been a small business owner, like a meat market where they have check cashing, and it says there. So Western Union, cashier inside, marketplace, blah, 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 blah. So it's literally that specific. So meaning they're going after when people send money home. So that's the detailed under the judicial warrant. All of this is Fourth Amendment, but we have the right to use it in place. And by us using it in place, we have been able to diffuse a lot. Okay, so we talked about the Fourth Amendment. You all have this, you'll have this. Now we're gonna go into, and it's a lot to process. If you have specific questions, feel free to also text me, call me, or email me. Now we're gonna go into the red card. What is the red card? What does a red card mean to vulnerable people? This is the tool that we have right now on the ground that we have been using the red card the last 10 years in the immigration world. This is not new. It was created by attorneys. Anybody who's an immigrant advocate always has a red card. However, doing this with 47 in place with this president, the red card has been much more public. We have been using it everywhere. But I want to give a context, and I want to tell you what is good for and what's the problem and how you all can help out. So the red card is very powerful. If this helps my father, this helps my mom, this helps my uncles and my cousins, this won't help me. I was born here. I speak English. But it helps my father, who is very indigenous looking, hardly speaks English, and does not know how to read and write in Spanish. So this red card is not for us people who are privileged. It's not. It is for the person who's not privileged, for that vulnerable person that might be a target. They need the red card in their wallet. They need it. So for them, the Spanish media has been doing an amazing job of the importance of the red card, what it means, what it holds, da, 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 da. However, they don't tell people where to go and get them. Lots of beautiful organizations have the red cards, but they don't have the man or woman power to be on the ground distributing the red cards to actual vulnerable people. That's where we come in. It's about putting the red card to somebody who needs it, who might get picked up, who's the target. And so I wanted to give you the context. When the ICE agent approaches you, you simply show them the red card. This is not for us. This is for like my father. So the person who's vulnerable, when you give them the red card, and in English, ICE is la migra. So when you give them the red card, you tell the vulnerable person, for example, let's say you're at the gas station, you're at the gas station, you go into the market, it's very normal, and you see a group of people who are coming off work, immigrant, day laborers, you see them coming off work, they're buying the Coke, their soda, something to eat. You have red cards in your purse, or you have red cards in your wallet. I need you to go to that group and literally give them the red card saying, for la migra. They will take the red cards. They will put it in their wallet. They're not going to flaunt it. They're not going to take a picture. They're not going to put it on TikTok. But they'll do this. They'll say, thank you, gracias, gracias. They'll tell you something like that. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to get nobody's name. You don't have to add more surveillance to their lives. But you have just saved people's lives. There's a huge demand for the red card. And where we come in is we can help out distributing the red card to the actual person who needs it. So when I speak in groups, I tell folks, I usually speak to their allies, they're white. So I usually say, give it to your landscaper. Give it to your house cleaner. Give the red card to the folks to the cooks at the restaurants. When you go eat, when you go to the restroom, go into the kitchen, you don't need no standing ovation. You just have to be like, here's some red cards, and you just put them there for la migra, and they'll take it. The red cards helps that vulnerable person tell the agent that, so when that person gets stopped, they'll bring out the red card and they'll give it to the agent. And they are practicing now their Fourth Amendment and their Fifth Amendment. 75% of these arrests are collateral arrests, meaning they have no warrant for their arrest. They're not criminals. The people who are being kidnapped are not criminals. They fall under collateral arrest. So when that vulnerable person shows a red card, they're practicing their Fourth and Fifth Amendment. The federal agents recognize that this person knows their constitutional rights. It has diffused the situation. Agents have walked away because this person knows their rights. So if you see all the videos on TikTok and Facebook and all that, if you see how sometimes it gets really bad and how agents are breaking windows and and how the vulnerable person does not have something to show them, does not have a red card to show them, boom. And it really has saved people's lives. The UFW has reported it out that unfortunately, there's people now selling the red card for $500. Don't sell the cards. I'll tell you where to get the red cards, but that's how much it's needed, that people are paying $500 for the red card. So we need to get the red cards and give them to people who are vulnerable. If you don't know anybody, because I've been asking folks, be real with me. If you don't know anybody who's vulnerable, who's an immigrant, who's if you don't if you don't know that, then be real. Then we'll brainstorm. Do you go to a restaurant? What's your favorite restaurant? And that's where literally where we were able to help. Do you drive by a construction place? So for example, last night, a person came up to me and told me that they had a box of red cards, and that they went to the they drove by a construction site in Mesa. He stopped and he went on the construction site and he started giving out the red cards, and the workers were taking them and saying thank you, thank you, thank you, because the Spanish news is doing a lot of the context. Um, Folks know the significance, but we don't know where to get them. So here, I wanted to give you some context. One side of the red card is in Spanish. Instructions are in Spanish for the person on what to do. So for example, let's say I'm the vulnerable person. So it's giving me instructions. No abra la puerta, don't open the door, no le conteste ninguna pregunta, do not answer no questions of the agent. No firme nada, do not sign anything. Si usted está fuera de su casa, pregúntale a la gente si es libre para ir. Si dice que sí, váyase con tranquilidad. This is something that, unfortunately, it happens a lot. If you're outside of your house, let's say you're at the sidewalk, let's say you're across the street, let's say you're walking to the market, and they literally just stop you. Federal agents just stop you, and they're very, they harass severely. You have the right to say, can I leave? Can I walk away? Can I leave? Like, do I have to stay here? Because there's a lot of confusion when the chaos happens, because the federal agencies are working all together, but they have never worked together. So you see FBI, DEA, you see all these federal agencies pickering, trying to take this person out, but that's not the person that they're looking for. That's why this red card has been very valuable, because you show them the red card, you give them the red card, and you have all these federal agencies saying, we need to leave. This is not right. Like, so that's why ICE is not meeting their numbers, even though the numbers are high. ICE is not meeting their numbers, but that's the reason why Tom Lison said he wants to treat deportation like Amazon Prime. So they're gonna increase everything. So we need to get the red cards into people's hands. It does exist in 19 languages, and here's the link. So you're able to do $100 gets you 1,000 red cards. You can choose the languages, or you can print it out. So you click on the link, it takes you to the Immigrant Legal Resource Center, and you're able to print out the cards. You have to, if possible, please use red paper. And like this, you have the different languages that might exist in your community or that's around your community who are vulnerable. On the other side of the card, it's in English. So one side is for the vulnerable person in Spanish. That's the example that I have for you all. The other side of the red card is in English. It's for the agent to know. I do not wish to speak to you. I am pleading the fifth, like the movies. I am pleading the fifth. Based on the Fifth Amendment rights in the United States Constitution, I do not give you permission to enter my home. Based on my Fourth Amendment, I do not give you permission to search any of my belongings, my cell phones. So that card is speaking on the card is representing that person. I choose to exercise my constitutional rights. So the card, they give it to the agent. The agent's aware that this person knows their constitutional rights. You know, they do go away. If they stay, they have a lot of problem afterwards in the deportation detention center, because it's all these federal agencies that are working together that they don't agree with what's happening. This is the job that ICE and Homeland Security does. FBI does not do this. DEA does not do this. Like other federal agencies are not, this is not the job that they applied for. So there's a lot of pickering on the ground. And that's where you see folks of like, no, this is not this, where's the like, so it just helps the situation for the person, the vulnerable person to have this. It really does help. So I put here some call to action, some ideas out there. So this, because remember, a red card saves a person's life. Distribute the red cards to folks who are targets. Do not give it out to a person like me. I don't need the red card. But the person standing at the bus station most likely probably needs a red card who just did a 14-hour shift and looks immigrant looking. So give the red card intentionally to a person who might be a target. Distribute red cards by canvassing vulnerable neighborhoods. Isaac had a group of folks and we canvassed the neighborhood of Guadalupe, very vulnerable immigrant Navajo community, Yaqui community. So intentionally you're canvassing a vulnerable community. Yes, please do. Like I said, the Spanish media talks about the red card. We just don't know where to get them. Distribute red cards at food banks. Distribute red cards to the local neighborhood markets where folks go. So the local neighborhood market in that neighborhood, las carnicerias, there's local neighborhood markets, the little liquor store, the bodega, like those little neighborhoods, they need red cards because a person goes and buys one onion, buys the little milk, buys some candy, buys something for my diaper. So those little markets is our Amazon for immigrant communities. That's where we go. Those little markets need red cards to give out, to have. So I recommend search the neighborhood market, and those are the ones that when you get red cards, you should give some to them, so they have them out for folks to take. Distribute red cards in restaurants. So this is something that we need to get better at. So when we go out to eat, there's always cooks in the kitchen. I don't recommend you give it to the manager because you don't know where they stand, but I recommend you go to the restroom because usually the kitchen is next to the restroom. And and instead of going to the restroom, you walk into the kitchen and you literally say, you should show the red card to say for la migra, and you just put it there. The cooks, the people in the kitchen will take them, put it away, put it in their locker, put it in their wallet. And it's the fastest way we can get to a lot of our folks who intentionally live in the shadows. Many of our vulnerable communities are not looking to get the spotlight, but they're working and they're out there, and we see them every day. We just have to be more proactive in giving folks the red card because those are the folks who are getting targeted, who are targeted. I wanted to show this as an example. So I see the Spanish news, Azteca, Noticiero, Univisión, Telemundo, La Independiente. Like I'm talking about all the Spanish news that I can get in the United States of America, East, West, Texas, Alaska, Hawaii. They're all there. It's happening in my living room. It's happening on my iPhones. And in the Spanish news, we are covering it heavy. Who got detained, who got deported. It's constant. It's 911 information. It's now, for me, it's a phenomenon because in January, you would hear it here and there. Now, in all the Spanish news, you see they're documenting who got picked up today in Tucson, who got taken in Phoenix, who got taken in New York, who got taken. It's just constant. So I wanted to give you guys an example of what we see in the Spanish news and why it's so important, the red card. Here you see, it's all in Spanish. You can look it up. I'm going to just quickly translate. So this aunt, this is the woman, the older woman is the aunt. She has full custody. She has gone through immigration court. Everything has been approved of 3 of her nieces, 12, 8, and 4 or 5. The three girls are political asylum. ICE agents went to her house She has video. She has brains, so she has a video. She has video, and they went to grab the intentions was to take the three little girls who have been approved, political asylum, everything is fine, and immigration law, immigration court. And we'll go over the targets. The aunt, because when I say they go to their house, it's not nice and friendly. They are storming the door. They're like attacking the door, pushing you, harassing you, scaring you shitless. It's so much fear that they're putting in you. And she's alone. Like she's shaking, like she was literally shaking, and you can see the video because she put her own videos of her house, her ring, which with ring captured, and she remembered that at the elementary school they distributed the red cards to the parents. So she remembered, and she went to her wallet and she grabbed the red card, like she's shaking in the video, and she goes, and that's her in the window, and she's showing the agent, the English side, she's showing, and the agents walked away. They left. Tras negarse a abrir a decir sus derechos, and the agents were saying, so it's always about bait. So the agents were telling her, ábreme la puerta, vengo a platicar. Open the door. I come here just to talk. I just want to see if the girls are fine. Like it's just bait, 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 bait. The worst thing that you can do is open the door. And she didn't open the door. No, but she was shaking. She almost peed on herself. She put her red card on the window, and the agents left because she's exercising her constitutional rights. That's the thing. And there was no warrant for the three little girls. The three little girls was going to be collateral arrest. They were going to be collateral arrest. There's no need for them. There's no need for many of the people who are being detained. It's just numbers on a piece of paper, but for us, it's human being lives. Here, who is a target? Who is a target? So this is now the reality. Who is a target? Anybody that's not a United States citizen is a target. This is now, since February 24th, it is called a knock and grab operation. That's how Department of Homeland Security has it. It is anybody who is not a United States citizen is a target. They have already taken, for example, a 75-year-old Cuban exile who has all the folks have been following the rules, have been paying the fees, have been doing their check-ins, like they're paying taxes. They are following order. So last 2 weeks ago or last week, it's right there. Because they're using it against it's a 75-year-old Cuban exile who was taken in and they're questioning Rubio. They're questioning him like, why are people being taken in? These are people from 50 years ago. He's been living here. So people who have documentation. So who is a target? Visa holders, permanent residents, green card holders, folks, adults, and children. In the state of Arizona, we have a lot of children under political asylum. It happened around the first term of 47, used to be 45. So a lot of children came sin sus papás, unacompañados, you're gonna hear my accent, unaccompanied. So a lot of children came alone. So those children were granted political asylum. And eventually the children were connected to a family member, or were adopted, or were in foster. Somebody stepped up to the plate and has been taking care of them. They're going after them. So under 47, this new administration, today's the 84th day, they are going after anybody who is not a United States citizen. ITN taxpayers, international students who hold a visa to study in the higher ed. This is their target. None of these people are criminals. They haven't done no criminal activity. So here's some numbers to put some context. Feel free to Google. So we are hitting 50,000. 50,000 folks have been detained / deported. 50,000. These are consist of the majority, like 90% of it now, because the numbers intentionally are getting tallied all the time. So this is 50,000 in detained / deportation. Okay. Collateral arrest. These are folks that did not have a warrant. What's collateral arrest? It falls under probable cause. What has allowed all this to happen was the federal law, the Laney-Riley Act, that got approved in the United States of America. It's a federal law, and it went into place January 29th. It does not allow due process. It takes the rights away. And it gives the ICE to make judgment calls. And unfortunately, a lot of people in Department of Homeland Security that work on the ground are very racist. So no Miranda rights, no due process, and the bulk of it is collateral arrest. So that's what you hear in the news. Nobody has a criminal, like these are people getting kidnapped. The folks in El Salvador, those were people who had certain tattoos that got kidnapped. There is no warrants for their arrest. So the administration, the 47 administration has tasked. So there's a memo. I have the memo. So there's a memo that it's a directive. This president gave a directive. All federal agencies to work together on the ground. Deportation and detainment is number one. So that's why you see FBI, DEA, ATF, United States Marshal. You see everybody, all the federal agents are working together on the ground. So that's the major difference right now, that you see federal agents on the ground. Some states do, and depending on the state that you're in, you just have to look into it. Here in Arizona, fortunately, not yet. Police officers and the sheriffs are now working on this right now. That's not the case in every other state, though. So it all depends on certain states, right? So the bulk, how do you know if it's a raid? When you see different federal agencies working together, that's a raid. That's how you know, because it's mandated. And in the memo, it says if you don't participate, you lose your job. They got a directive from above. So these are the numbers in Arizona. Oh my God, of people who have been kidnapped, because that's what it is. These are folks who have been kidnapped. And what allows this is the Laken-Riley Act. So before January 29, 2025, before January 29, overstaying your visa was a civil offense. After January 29th, that federal agent can use his probable cause and make it into a felony, which was originally a civil offense. Crossing the border without authorization is a misdemeanor for the first time before January 29th. The Laken-Riley Act just increased it, just made it all worse. So it allows for no due process to take place and automatic removal. The Laken-Riley Act. That's why we're in this situation. All these numbers are folks, are human beings that have been kidnapped by the federal agents. And it happens in broad daylight. It happens in broad daylight. There's no warrants for their arrest. But when they get detained, the ICE adds criminality to them. So you cross the border, that's illegal. It wasn't before January 29th. It was a misdemeanor. You work in the United States of America, let me see your ID. So they start adding whatever they're able to find under the Fourth Amendment property. So let's say in the car, they find a paycheck and that's your name, or is that your, like, whose name is this? or you're using your own. So they start just adding criminal situations after you get detained. But you got detained due to racial profiling, due to probable cause. And then they start adding stuff. The goal, and I was trying to get numbers from New York. I think I almost have it. I just want to make sure of the warrants. But I can share if there's other people from different states, just let me know and I can figure it out. The goal for 47 administration for this administration is to deport 1 million people. And so now if you're connecting the dots, if you're connecting what you see on the news, if you're connecting on what you see when you're watching your 7 p.m. news or 10 p.m. news, when you're seeing how people are get deported and they're not coming back. Because this administration has a goal. We're at 50,000 people who have been detained/deported, and today is the 84th day of this presidential administration. The goal is to get 1 million. The red card is still a powerful tool that we have on the ground that we can use, that I need more people out there distributing it out. You don't have to be getting names and numbers. You don't have to add no more surveillance. Like I said, the Spanish news is doing a good job in explaining what it is, carry it, blah, 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 blah. But people don't have it. And we need to get them in their hands. And like I shared before, a lot of these folks intentionally live in the shadow. So we find them where they're at work. We find them in gas stations. We find them in the restaurants. Those are the places where we can find folks who are in the vulnerable community. If you know of an apartment complex or you see many people who are immigrants, just start distributing red cards. If you go to someone's house, you don't have to knock at the door. You just put the red card in a little plastic bag and leave it in the front door in the doormat. That's it. You don't need to say hi. But you are being an angel and you're saving a person's life. And they would be extremely grateful. If you experience a raid, so now you are going to the dentist, you just went to the market, you just went to the gas station. The raids are happening broad daylight on purpose so people can have fear on purpose. So if you experience a raid, what's a raid? Federal agents all clustered together, federal agents. What you can do, instead of walking away, instead of like, do not see, I didn't see the thing. No, as much as you might be trembling, what you can do is you literally can just pull over and you start screaming, show me the warrant, show me the warrant. You create a chaos. Show me the warrant. Because remember, the person that's being detained, that person already is they're accusing him just by racial profiling or her by the way they look. That person, if they start speaking, it can hurt their case. They can really, it doesn't help. Like plead the fifth is the best thing to do, because unfortunately a lot of us immigrant people are very nice and we don't like to be mean and yes ma'am, see, no, if they even say a little word, it can be used against them and the agent can say yes, they nodded, I asked the question and he said yeah. It's the agent's word against the immigrant's word. There's no Miranda rights, there's no due process, there's no little camera. These are not police officers. There's nothing to prove that what they're saying is a lie. What you can do in that situation, by you creating chaos, by you saying, show me the warrant, by you taking out your phone and like literally like even if you're trembling, video, taking pictures, they don't want people who are white to be doing something like that. They don't want people, they want everybody to go on their normal day. They want this administration wants the fear to be normalized. Fear to be normalized. So if you stop and you start screaming, show me the warrant, guess what? Somebody else follows. Somebody else, there's a domino effect. The person who cares will stop and do something with you. Take out your iPhone, go live, just do it. These are different federal agents. You're literally hitting their cord. They don't want to go live. They don't want to be seen. An FBI who have never applied for ICE does not want to be seen that he's doing this. So this has diffused the situation. Does it stop it? You have stories that it does, you have stories that it doesn't. However, you have just brought it to the attention of the social media and the public eye. So it helps. It also helps that person who's getting detained. So when the person's getting detained and they're eventually, unfortunately, there's a family member there. There's a wife that's crying. There's a child that's crying. There's a daughter there's somebody there that you can just tell them, what's your number? I'll send you the video right now. I have pictures. What's your phone number? And you give it to the family member or even the business owners, the construction business owners. They like, I mean, everybody's hurting with this. So um, you'll find the community right there in that situation. You provide them with what you film, what you took pictures of. But we need to put this much more in the public eye. The way I see the Spanish news of how all the people that have been detained today, the English news should be capturing it too, but they're not. And by you capturing it when you see it and you turn it in, I'm always here as a reference. I have a database happening already because I've been helping out with different attorneys on this situation. You feel free to send it to me, but the more the English news can just capture how this is happening in our community, and we don't want it because these are kidnapping. There's no warrant. Show me the warrant. Now you all know what I'm saying because we went through the Fourth Amendment. We went through the Fourth Amendment. We went through the power of the power that the red card holds. Show me the warrant, and there's no warrant, and they're taking somebody like you're calling bluff. So this is how you can participate and how you can diffuse. And yes, in moments it has stopped it and the agents have left. In other moments it has not stopped it. However, there's now a video and pictures that the attorneys can use to try to get that person before they get deported. So it does become evidence. And you're a witness. If not now, when? If not me, who? So this is Organized Solidarity Collective, and this is the end.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. That was amazing. We really appreciate that. And then I wanted to just leave some time now if anybody does have some questions. Um, if not, we can totally and the Zoom. And there's also Elizabeth you offered your email before, right? So
Yes, my email, and then also this PowerPoint, I'm going to send it to Isaac, and Isaac's going to send it out. It's in a PDF format already.
yeah, so if anybody would like the PowerPoint, I can send it to you all. And I hope to post it on our podcast tomorrow, on YouTube tomorrow. And if you ever want to watch it again or send it around, it could be of use to so many people, can save so many people from deportation, and can really save a lot of lives. So please feel free to watch it, share it,
Yes,
and
and go into action mode. You are now, the way I see it is you now know. You now know, so now you do better. It just takes it takes all of us to do better, and that's how we're helping each other out.
exactly, exactly. Well, Elizabeth, thank you for all you're doing on the ground. Thank you for all you're doing to educate. We are very grateful, and
Thank
there
you,
are
Isaac.
countless people that are really benefiting from you. So thank you for everything. And Everyone else, have a wonderful night, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, adiós.
Bye bye.